We're seeing minor damage to the front wing. Be easy on the car till we get... Exit now. We have 5 laps of fuel remaining. That was a bad start, but don't overreact. We can salvage this. Penalty for dangerous drive into the track.
Hey guys, Ycoms here and welcome to my conclusion video of the AOR Season 15 Championship and therefore also the conclusion of the F1 2017 game. I have not uploaded anything from Season 15 since 2 months, since the Bahrain race, and well, one of the reasons you saw basically in the first 1.5 minutes, my technical issues just got worse and worse with the game and my PC. So yeah, I asked the coordinators if I could maybe compete on the Xbox side for the last 3 races, because there was nothing for me to fight really on the PC side anymore. So yeah, luckily they allowed me to do that. So I raced the 3 remaining races on the Xbox side. Well, the two remaining races, because for some reason Xbox Live had an absolute meltdown at Kota. So I was also competing in Japan. I finished 5th there, so not that bad of a race. But here we are then at the final race of Brazil, which I wanted just to show you as a conclusion of the whole season. So yeah, we're already going into qualifying. We're going to talk a little bit about the whole situation a little bit later as well. But yeah, we are in qualifying. We're currently in P1 in the session actually. Our personal best in the session is a 108.3, so a very, very good banker as we're trying to improve this on our final run here. Well, technically our second final run. If we mess up this lap, we will have another shot. As we come into the Senna as late braking, if possible. A little bit of a lock up, a little bit off the apex there, a little bit off the apex there in turn 2 as well. A little bit lucky as well that we didn't get a warning there, and that well, which would have invalidated our lap. So very, very close to the track limits there. And that is the end of the first sector. Into turn 4 we go, down into 4th gear, clipping the apex nicely early on the throttle as well, using all of the track on the exit. That was pretty much perfect. Now coming into the twisty bits in the middle part of the track, down 1 gear into 6th gear, trying to be early on the power as well, right liking on the curb into 2nd gear, trying to maximize the line here through here. A little bit of oversteer which we had, that definitely lost us a 10th there. And now another hairpin, trying to tricky traction zone actually out of here as well. A little bit of oversteer, but nothing too major. Into the final corner we go. This is a very, very crucial corner. A little bit, well, braked a little bit too early to be honest, and also had a little bit of oversteer, so that lost us a little bit more time. Not an ideal lap, but it was a okay-ish lap. Maybe we lost us 1 or 2 tenths really on the fly, and it's going to be a 108.257. That puts us on provisional pole. Let's see where we are at the end of the session. So as you can see, we got pole position in the end, roughly half a tenth ahead of NLR Evo. I should mention that the Flying Finn, for example, is absent for this race, which is why I am allowed to drive in the Mercedes as a reserve driver. But yeah, I don't know. Target for this race basically was just to first of all have a clean race. just yeah, I don't know, enjoy the driving really without issues, and maybe if everything goes right, maybe give Evo a run for his money, because with Finn obviously not here in this race, he's definitely the clear favorite to win the race. And yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to have some fun. It's gonna rain at the start of the race actually, so that's not really going to help. I don't feel confident in the wet at all. I never got grips in the wet really on this game, but you never know what's gonna happen. At least it's intermediate conditions, so it shouldn't be too bad, and it's gonna dry up relatively quickly. So let's see what we can do in the race. Alright, here we are then on the grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix, the final race of the season. We got 5 red lights, and we are on the way, trying to fiddle around with the traction as much as possible, trying to get a decent start, a little bit of oversteer there, but nothing too major. And Evo having a look there up the inside, but we have the inside line for the turn number 2, and it has been a good start. We have managed to defend the position, so first goal basically reached. Now it's all about trying to get into the rhythm and see how quickly these conditions go away, so we can go on the dry tires and see what strategy we're going to run. Most likely 1 stop, well, 2 stop anyway, then going on to the dry tires, and then whatever, depending on what we're fitting, going on to a second compound later on. But yeah, at the moment I was really happy that that I was able to defend the position from in the start anyway, and now it's really all about trying to figure out these conditions and go as fast as possible. I was definitely not used to this anymore really, because it has been quite a while since I had a pole position in the league race. I think one of them was last season at Spain or something, which was one of the last races before I quit season 14. So it has been a few months really since I've been on pole position for a league race, so that was a little bit for me unknown territory anymore. So I was definitely nervous on these first couple of laps, trying to just be cautious, but also like not to lose too much time, trying to pull a gap maybe together with Evo behind, maybe with Danny who jumped up into 3rd, who jumped Kimi Larsson or Drillmaster at the start. So far not that bad of a first lap. Definitely not making any mistakes so far, so that's very, very good. Seems like it's going really, really well so far, to be honest. Obviously it's going to be really, really tough over the course of a 50% race to stay ahead of someone like Evo, especially since I've not raced him too much really, but you know, we've been practicing a little bit for this race together, and it seems like always at the end of the stints where his tires just that tiny bit quicker. And people know me, I'm not bad on my tires either, but he's just, I don't know, he's just that tiny bit better still. So especially on the dry tires, if they get worn, where he is gonna have the advantage over me, definitely. And until that, we will need to try to defend and not mess up the strategy. But he seems like he's really close here at the end of lap 2 as well. So it's definitely gonna be we are not allowed to do any mistakes in front of him, so we can stay in front of him as much as possible. So first flying lap completed. Evo was a little bit quicker on that first flying lap, 1.5 tenths. So he's definitely very close. Hopefully he will not get too much quicker, so we can stay in front. But we are skipping on to lap number 5. You can see it has dried up, and DRS is activated, so this is the time where we should pit now this lap. And we managed to well, stay ahead of Evo, but it's only to 7 tenths, so nothing really happened in the course of this first stint. You can see Danny in 3rd, struck out of, well, DRS range, so to say, from Evo, and we're now going into the pits, trying to not brake too late. Very conservative, and there we go. And now it is going to be interesting if we're going to get jumped in the pits or not. We should be fine, because Martin, our teammate for this race, carried on for another lap, as he kind of had to. And there we go, going out of the pits. Where's the other guys coming out? Oh, that's Danny coming out ahead of Evo. So Evo has had a shocker of a pit stop. Just got held for ages for, well, no apparent reason, to be honest. And that has lost him huge amounts of time. And I didn't really know how to feel at this moment. Obviously, I was happy. I was like, oh, okay, there's a little bit less pressure. But at the same time, I was so looking forward to this battle that we potentially were gonna have before the race and during these first 5 laps. And for the moment, it seemed pretty ruined, to be honest. Because we're now quite far ahead of him, and Danny's also, I think, yeah, it should be out of the DRS from us. And now it's really time to push and try to, well, get this advantage going we've got early on in the race. Trying to show decent pace. I think these conditions are still like a little bit too wet. I think once it gets, once it's properly dry, I think I will be able to go a little bit faster in comparison to the others. Well, in comparison, for example, to Danny as well, because he's gained 3/10 on this sector on me. So definitely trying to be very, very cautious at the moment. But there was the right time to pit, because, you know, we are already setting purple sectors here. Here's the rest of the grid coming into pits. We are inheriting the lead again at the end of lap 6. And now you can see that Evo is actually on the medium tire, so he will go most likely onto the super softs in the end. And what I did not know, I know you're probably going to slap me for not knowing this, but I did not actually know that, for example, the mediums would be faster than the softs, potentially in this first couple of laps where it's still a little bit damp. So, but that didn't affect us too much, really, because we were lucky, because it dried up very, very quickly. Now we're on lap 15, starting lap 15. I'm just going to show this lap because it's my fastest lap of the stint. Gap to Danny, 2.7 seconds, so we managed to extend that after he actually closed it down to close to DRS range, actually, in the first couple of laps. But now we are into our rhythm, and now it's the time where we need to push as much as possible in order to get the advantage over those two guys, especially towards Evo as well, because he's going to be on the better tires in his second stint. And so for the first few laps here on the dry, were really, really good, very, very consistent. I think all of them are within 2/10 or so. And it's interesting that this is the fastest lap of my stint, which is kind of a classic me as well. Sometimes I just tend to do my fastest laps of a stint after a few laps and not necessarily on the first flying lap, which can be beneficial at times, but is also quite annoying if you want to push at the start of the stint. And since tire wear is not that much controllable on this game, as it, in my opinion, should be anyway. So we're setting a 11.348. That's not the fastest lap of the race. That comes from our teammate Martin, actually, a couple of laps ago. So good news is we are extending the gap to Danny and Evo behind for the moment. And now we are skipping on to lap 19. Let's see what the gap is now to Danny. It is 4.2 seconds, 4.3 seconds almost, so that's very, very good. 6.7 seconds. So Evo, as we're having a massive tank slapper out of turn 2. There, that was very, very close of actually spinning the car around entirely. That completely caught me off guard and lost us a little bit of time, but no, it shouldn't be. It should just be a wake-up call to just be cautious on these tires. As they're going off a little bit, we're going to lose a little bit of time, most likely, to Evo in particular. Now on lap 21 we're going into pits. I should mention I forgot to change my differential back to my normal 100%, which I'm doing for the dry conditions. I just didn't notice it really driving as well, so it probably didn't make too much of a difference really. And we're coming into the pits. We were very aggressive actually on the pit entry, and that was because Danny was really close of holding us up there. Luckily we were able to stay in front of him, and now it is time for the second stint, trying to gain a little bit more time on Evo. Hopefully the gap will be, I don't know, I was hoping for over 7 seconds at least, until he goes on to his final set of super softs, because he will definitely close me in considerably on the tires. But if I should have a second gap or so, it should be fine, I think, if I don't do any major mistakes and stuff like that. Because paces was really, really good so far, I have to say. First dry stint on these soft tires was really, really consistent. Was able to keep it in the mid-11s until lap 19 or so, until I had that tank slapper. Then the tires went a little bit off anyway, so yeah. So this is the gap we currently have to Danny behind, which is actually has it even increased since the stop? It seemed like so. Anyway, let's have a look. 5.7 seconds there, so we gain definitely another second or so during the pit stop phase on Danny. So that's positive as well, I would say. And now we will start our fastest lap of the race. I can tell you it is not a clean lap because that happened right here. Now, there we go. That is actually our second warning in the race, and considering well, that Evo might get into our 3-second window at the end of the race if he's just doing ridiculous laps on the super softs, which he most likely will anyway, then this might be close. So it would be preferable not to get a penalty, to be honest. For the moment we are carrying on and trying to be fast on this particular lap. Not that bad of a lap so far, but yeah, especially after that warning, I tried also to be a little bit more cautious in this double right-hander, because if you understeer just a tiny bit wide, it's going to give you another warning as well. So especially turn 1, turn 4 exit can be actually not necessarily in the race, but especially turn 1 and turn 6, 7 is where I sometimes struggle with keeping consistent lines, setting a new fastest lap of the race. Evo goes into pits, and as I predicted, onto the super softs. We're locking up quite a lot in turn 1. Sometimes. I just noticed during the commentating this. This race is obviously like over 2.5 weeks ago already, but yeah. And now we're on lap 30, and we made that mistake that we shouldn't have done, to be honest, getting that 3-second time penalty, and Evo has obviously passed Danny quite quickly once he caught up. So let's see what the gap is with 6 laps to go to Evo. Let's see what we need to do to stay in front and get and win the race. 2.5 seconds, so he will need to close about by 4/10 a lap or something. And obviously his tire's going to go off as well. He's going to be 13 laps on his super soft, which is quite a long time, to be honest. So I was not really that worried, but also like I was concerned, but not really worried that I would lose that much amount of time. But the next few laps were a little bit, you know, sketchy as well in terms of driving, and I wasn't really sure. Yeah, what is the tire life? How long can he keep up the pace? But we are on the final lap, and you can see from the gap, this gap is definitely more than 3 seconds. And if we can keep it together for one more corner, we might actually win this race, which is unexpected, I have to say, really unexpected. And I wanted to have this battle with Evo, and unfortunately it didn't really happen because of his unfortunate pit stop. But nevertheless, we drove, I think, not a bad race at all. One of my finest drives, I would say, this season. Maybe probably my finest drives without any major mistakes, apart from the time penalty. There we go, across the line, winning the final race on the Xbox side of things of the season. And this was for me just really a confidence boost going into the new game, which is obviously going to release at the end of this week. But yeah, in terms of that, you can't really, you know, shouldn't take too much away from this. It's the end of the season. Not everyone is here. Not the well, Finn, for example, isn't here. Not everyone did the same amount of practice and stuff like that. So I am definitely happy with my performance in this particular race. But that's pretty much all I can take from it. And there we go. There you can see the final classifications. Danny taking the 3rd step on the podium in the end, and Martin is gonna come home in P4. And there you can see the rest of the results. So that was it really from season 15. I just wanted to show you this race because it was probably my best race, if not, well, it was uneventful, but still my finest drive this season, I would say. And yeah, with the new game coming out, I'm looking forward to that, to be honest. I'm not quite sure what kind of content I'm going to produce. I will just see it on the fly. You will see it on the fly, really, what I'm going to do. I definitely want to do some stuff also when League Racing is obviously coming back. And sure, I'm going to do more content. But until that, I will see you later, and hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and yeah, bye-bye.